Rays Dodgers World Series. I've been saying it all year long.
What you bring to the table, but it doesn't work because the people that are advocating for these policies, once they get in power, they just take the money and they're divided amongst each other. It's never for the people.
All right, 23 wins. What's the difference?
Malibu at the diner part of the casino.
It's amazing, and listen, I love the setup, especially outside.
He campaigned. He wanted to be president.
Like wear like McKinnon, and then he would wear like a blue
MVP quarterback, and then the other quarterback.
Microphone and say you want to be the owner and runner of the country.
All right, we are live on the Doug Saravo Show, which is brought to you by Stutz Betting. Bet like Michael Lepore. We have a live audience today. We got Carolyn, Shane, Luis, myself, and Jim. Jim, start with an opinion.
Well, the opinion is I'm glad that fall is coming. One of the favorite seasons of the year. And may we have a nice continuing dry fall. And I can cut my last grass in the next few weeks. May the colors of the trees and bushes look beautiful, which they will. So enjoy your future today. Thank you.
Jim. All right, so let's start with Carolyn. Carolyn, you got the mic.
Started with Jim.
Yeah, now we're on to you, Carolyn. All right.
Happy
so,
birthday, Doug.
Thank you, Carolyn. I appreciate it. So I want to ask you a question. You're a liberal, right?
We're not. I thought no politics tonight.
Yeah, but I lead the show.
Last I looked, I was a human being. So.
Well, what does that mean?
What does
I get we're all human
mean?
beings. Well, I know we're all humans, but where does that stand politically?
Well, politics is, one hand washes the other, right?
You want to add on?
How you shake your hand.
Politics is about how we follow the rules. It is how they make the rules and how we follow the rules, correct?
Policies and laws.
Policies and laws, correct? What policies you want, what policies you don't want. What candidate gives you the best policy that you want,
Government. That's government, right?
correct?
Yeah.
So government and politics could be two different things, right?
So if you were president, how would you change the world? What would you put in place?
Wow, that's a great question. If I
He
were
put you on the
president,
spot, right?
he did.
Directly to
Put me on the
president.
spot. If I
So
were
you're about to be
president,
president.
the first thing I would actually do is change the presidency into a more of a trifold leadership model. Wouldn't have a president. I'd have a round table, more or less of like a round table, like the Knights, maybe.
Or the Star
Number
Chamber.
one. And the second thing I would do is change our winner-take-all system. I would have. Do you remember what I said last time I was here?
I don't recall.
I would have more like Germany has, actually, a percentage representation, proportional representation, where if 10% votes for the Green Party, then 10% of your representatives are green, and so on and so forth. We need to kind of widen the options that we have, and that's how I would do it.
Luis, do you have anything to respond?
Oh. Did you say Germany? Germany?
Germany, yeah.
Oh.
Proportional
Is this on?
representation.
Yeah, it's on.
I think like Germany is great, but right now they're freezing. They might freeze to death this year because they got deals with Russia as far as like trade and stuff like that, oil, gas, and stuff like that. They could have easily just negotiated or done something with the United States when Trump offered it. But no, they laughed at him, they mocked him, and he told them, you're dealing with the enemy, right? Russia was supposed to be the enemy, but they laughed at him. He didn't know what he was talking about, and now Putin is using that as a tactic to negotiate sanctions from this country, because now he's going to turn off the power on everybody in Germany. So even if you're trying to do something good for the people, you got to get rid of the government all complete. The government's got to start from scratch, you know.
And that's where you agree, Carolyn.
A new face. But it's always goes to the same. You know how you say a table? A government, that's all it is, a table. But they all negotiate with each other. Hey, I got this policy.
Right. And that's
If you
what
sign
she's
off
bringing.
on this policy, I'm going to give
She
you
has
this.
Carolyn has the breakdown. There
Yeah.
could be 10 groups that would all congregate in the government and to work through what policy would be the best and needed
Yeah,
for the future.
yeah.
Some policies aren't needed at the moment. There are some things that are needed, like if you're having a problem with employment, you got to work on just employment. If you're working on a green party or something in the for the future for energy, you would work with that in that zone, and then the other zones would be banking and schooling and technical schools, and the whole breakdown from pollution on up. You'd have to work on, and as Carolyn says, they have it in Germany broken down like that, right, in sectors.
This is representation, proportional representation. So
That you were thinking
instead of
of.
winner take all, right now we have two parties basically with Bernie Sanders
three.
as your
Yeah.
consciousness per se. But if you have in proportional representation, you take into account the entire voting demographic, and that's makes up. So if you have 90% of the people voting libertarian, you're going to have 90% of your representation be libertarian,
Libertarian, hopefully.
and so on and so forth.
Yes. I hope for libertarian.
I'm
But Bernie's for socialism.
Yeah, he's bent.
I don't think.
I
I
have
think
a-
about 85% of this country doesn't want socialism, right?
We already have socialism. Wake
Well,
up,
we
it's
have
not
a
law.
little
no,
bit-
it's not.
well,
So
we don't
you could
have-
say
no.
social. If
Partial.
hard blown socialism is different. Like, of course, we have a state that, yeah, we have like welfare. That's part of a social program.
School systems.
School system. But there's also a
Hospitalization.
mix of capitalism involved. Socialism is when the
Well, there's
government
a lot of
controls the
capitalism.
whole means of production, and then it's gonna be like, I'm gonna take this money and we're gonna spread it out evenly to whoever we think should get that.
Maybe.
And I understand, it sounds
Wherever.
good, but there's never the government when they offer that, because it's good policy what you offer, what you bring to the table, but it doesn't work because the people that are advocating for these policies, once they get in power, they just take the money and they're divided amongst each other.
Well, that
It's
seems-
never for the people.
It's never. That's
It's how they get in. It's just how they get in.
City,
Seems to be
county, state, and fed is the
Right.
same way.
Yeah.
And the thing is that will probably always be. There's always
Not unless you give the people
bidding
get
and
together and make up their own rules and their own policies and help themselves
So
out.
how do we do that, Carolyn?
Yes.
You tell me, how would you do it? You're the youth. We're going to be, all these old people that control things now, we're going to be dead in
Dead.
another 25 years. You guys are going to be the ones running the show. How are you going to do it? You're talking about a generation.
Before I have what I have to say, we have an audience question.
Okay.
So I have a question.
pass the phone.
So we already have welfare, as Luis pointed out, and to me personally, I feel that when you have programs like that and continue to spread the wealth like that, it doesn't give people the incentive to work. Capitalism gives people the incentive to work, that competitiveness, that drive to want to earn more money, be better. I just think that when you have socialism and everybody's equal, not everyone is equal. You have to do your work, your share of the work. If you want something, you have to earn it. You know, it's like this whole thing now of, for example, paying off student debt. Why? If someone chose to go to a school that was $70,000 a year, that's on them, compared to a student who was more frugal and said,
Correct.
well, I can only afford a community college. So why should we spread the wealth to all these other people? The choices you make, you have to earn for that choice. You have to
That's
earn
correct.
a living. And we have welfare in this country to help people. And if you go to the inner cities and you see what they do with their welfare money, they don't use it to feed their children and feed themselves. They use it for their drug habits. They use it, they sell those welfare cards, those debit cards now that they have. They sell them to get money, the cash for drugs and alcohol. What do you think we have? Feed the children. We do feed the children. We feed the children in the school system. We feed these children through welfare. So why do we have starving kids in this country? You know, welfare was supposed to be for people who worked and needed that supplemental income because they were on hard times. But now it's become a way of life for people. It's not for the people who just need that.
It's a culture.
That supplement. It's culture. Yes, it's a culture. It's a way of life. It's an income now. Have another baby, you'll get another welfare check.
Right.
That's
I
an
think
income.
welfare is supposed to be just a crutch. Maybe 2 months of welfare
It
Right.
is
for
a crutch.
for older person that can no longer work or is hurt, or even like Social Security.
Right,
You know,
we
how
have
you got to wait
disability for
welfare with
people.
somebody that cannot work, but they're giving it to people that are 20 years old.
Exactly,
They're in their mother's
exactly.
basement.
Right.
They're not
Exactly,
working.
Exactly. And,
You know
and
what
they
I'm
know
saying?
that there are people
And
even
and that's a
receiving
fact.
disability.
That is a fact.
You have to make people want to work and to gain a sense of responsibility, and that you want to be part of a family. We're an American family. You know, we follow the Ten Commandments and we follow the Constitution, and these are basic laws of life. So you want to be able to be happy with your brothers, sisters, family, neighbors, and all work together and say hi to each other every day and go home and sleep. But you'll know that you have pride in your work, and the work it's a gift that God gives you, and you have to explore it. You have to go beyond what you are and to become something great if possible. But a lot of people quit, and they don't seem to want to move their minds forward and to stress themselves a little bit. There's nothing wrong with feeling stress. I mean, I have had it all my life.
Well, Jim, you're a prime example. You're helping someone who doesn't work right now and is on welfare. So how would they move and stretch
don't know if it's-
their
yeah, it's
life?
welfare.
And how
Well,
would you see them
a person
trying-
limited, well,
Yeah, because
he's limited.
This topic is, I don't even want to go to here. This
Well-
topic is very complicated. And you have to
No,
go
people
into
are
each-
complicated. It's not a
each
topic.
Case by case basis.
Right. It's just everybody's different.
I think
So-
I've seen more welfare than everybody.
Well,
I think
yeah,
you could. I think if you ever, I think everybody I ever grew up with was on welfare.
Wow.
I can honestly say
That's
I know
sad.
the welfare system.
What city would
I
that
was
be?
born. I was born in Puerto Rico. Came here to this country. I was born a citizen. Thank God. You know, like we was blessed to have that opportunity because a lot
Good.
of people don't have that.
Wow.
So when we came to this country, we was afforded welfare just like they're doing to the people crossing over and stuff like that. But as I came in through the school system, when I was brought up, you know, to salute the flag and stuff like that. When I first came to this country, it was a little different than it is now. So I was brought up a little bit different. That's why I turned to lean a little bit conservative. And I'm going to tell you why. As I was growing up in the welfare system, I realized that my cousins, my nieces, they got pregnant young. Now they got a crutch. Now mom is working, struggling, And now she was like, now mom is stuck with the child because she made a mistake, right? And now she's on welfare, right? And instead of going to school, no, now she's like, oh, now I get a chance to just sit at home and get paid. You know, they make it the
Change
easy.
the rules though about that. They have to go to work now, right?
No, they don't. I'm gonna tell you what they have to do. I'm gonna tell you what they have to do. They have to go once a week for 2 hours. They sit down at the unemployment's office. They sit down and look at videos, and then they tell you got to get an application. You walk into Walmart and you say, "Oh, can I get an application anywhere?" And then go back to the unemployment next week and handle your 2 applications,
this is in
whether
New
you
York?
sign them or not.
This is in New York.
No, this is
Right here.
30 minutes from here, New Jersey, Perth Amboy, New Jersey.
Yeah,
It's
Perth
just like
Amboy,
that
that's
in
what I was
every
gonna say.
liberal city.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm
No,
gonna
that's
tell
not-
you.
that's not a
Patterson's the
liberal
same
city.
way.
That's a liberal country because
No, this is
that's
radical. Where I'm at, I'm radical left. Where I live at is radical
Yep.
left.
Oh really? Like,
Yeah, so
I'm
is my
talking about
friend.
me talking to what I'm talking
friend
right
Bill
now.
lives there.
My whole family hates me. Seriously,
Oh,
my whole
yeah.
family hates me because I'm conservative. Because I think differently.
Did you ever ask the question to yourself? How does that actually serve the system? You're saying that doesn't work, doesn't? But how? But think about it. How does it work?
What you mean, like the welfare system?
Yeah.
You mean what are the benefits in it working?
It just drains the system. That's all it
I
does.
think it does.
It does.
No, it does.
Because if you use it as a crutch, for example, this is where welfare is essential. You work, you're a school teacher. Example, I don't know, you're a school teacher. You work there most of your life. All of a sudden, you got COVID, right? You got COVID, and you're really sick. And now you wasn't able to recover from COVID. For some reason, you can't walk from here to the bathroom without feeling like you're going to have a heart attack. Example, right?
Right.
So now you can't work. So now welfare, because they're taking money out of my check, they can somehow help you, you know?
Disability.
And this, like disability, it's still welfare. If you get it before you earned it, meaning, for example, you work and you pay taxes towards your Social Security, you get that early, which is, they got 2 programs. They got SSI, Social Security Income, and they got Social Security Disability.
Right.
It's 2 different programs,
right.
okay?
Right.
So if you get it early,
You work for the You should work for the Social Security office.
no, it's crazy because you know what I do? I do a lot of reading. I have an 8th grade education, and here I am talking to you. I never been to high school, nothing.
No.
No.
Oh, you should go. You'd be
Yeah.
even more
And
astute.
you know why? Because I
More
didn't
astute.
want to be a victim.
Yeah.
I didn't want people telling me, "Oh, you was
high
this
school.
way, yeah, so you're weak and stuff like that. You're a weak person, yeah."
For students to be a leader.
Do you ever ask yourself the question as to, you live in allegedly the greatest country in the world,
Yeah.
and we have lots of millionaires, and we have lots of infrastructure. Do you ever ask yourself why a person is poor in this rich country? In other words, if you're working a full-time job, when my father was bringing us up, he could work a full-time job and support buying a house and buying
That's when
food
America was great.
and doing on a factory
America
on
was
a
great.
on a factory worker's salary. Why do we have so many rich people in the world in this country, but we don't have work for the regular working man and woman that can afford those things?
The way
So
these,
maybe it's not welfare that's the cause.
Women's lib didn't help anything either because now women have to go to
the
work.
way these people get rich is by exploiting you.
At times,
Right.
That's how they get rich. How can I milk money out of this person
Right.
to make my machine work or this stuff? How much can I produce out of this person? All right, this person's just costing me too much to keep. Oh, I could hire this one for cheaper. That's how these rich people think. When the worker comes in here, he has to constantly keep going in there, paying, get in there. They call them the working poor. They have like McDonald's workers. They call them working poor. You know, right? Am I right, Louis?
Yeah, it just that's how everybody that has ambitions thinks that way.
Correct.
I mean, you could abuse your power, and you could be
This is
you
great,
could be a
Jim.
prick, and you could abuse your workers and stuff like that. There's people like that. There's companies that like they say Walmart's really bad.
Yeah.
You know,
I
like
can
where
give
we
you
at. I
an
don't think it's
example.
like-
I worked for a major corporation in the United States, Fortune 50, right? Every few years, they would totally eliminate their middle management. Why? Why? Why do you think?
Why do I think?
Yeah, just what you said before.
Because
They
they're
got
costing
paid.
too much money.
Costing too much money. Even all their expertise went right out the window.
Yep.
And the new people that didn't know anything came in, and that all that expertise went right out the window. And it happened every few years, like clockwork. So all those people that keep on getting laid off due to lack of work, but there is no lack of work. There's just lack of loyalty, quite honestly. And
Now-
that it caused. What did those people do? Well, they could go find another job, like I did, making half as much money. And thank God I didn't have a big mortgage or kids to support, because I would have really been in a pickle when the economy goes down. So
I was talking to him earlier today about Industrial Revolution America, how the workers would get exploited a lot in this is as when the factories really started to open up, and what workers started fighting for was 8-hour work
Yeah, that was a
days.
dryer.
They were fighting for 8-hour work days and all these incentives we take for granted today.
no child labor.
No child labor and stuff.
5-year-olds working in the coal mine.
Correct. We came a long way with that now. Now,
Thank you, Judy. We appreciate the support.
Have a good one. Bless.
you too.
Bye.
Thanks for coming out tonight.
So we came a long way from working there. Now we got people working from home.
Number one fan right there.
Correct. You can clock in through your computer to clock in from working 7 days straight to pay the rent for the little cardboard whatever you got to pay for in New York City. You got to go into the factory.
I don't mean to interrupt you quick, but we got to hit a quick commercial. Dougie and Espo, you can see it every Wednesday if Kyle appears. We'll be right back. MVP quarterback. And then the other quarterback we have is Derek Carr.
Everything happens to me. Zach Wilson getting hurt happens to me. Not getting let into Bar A happens to me. Going to the hospital after the Jets beat the Titans happened to me.
No,
I think
please don't.
I don't
do
like
that.
All
the
right.
idea of militarized police force.
We are back
That's
on
what
the
I know,
Doug
that's what
Sarava
we do.
Show, which is brought to you by Stutz Betting. Bet like Michael Lepore.
Police department is.
All right, so I want to get to a question that Carolyn asked before.
When are you getting married?
Who knows? Hopefully by 30-31. That's the goal.
30-31.
Yeah, that's 2 years from now. Good luck.
30-31.
Yeah. So you mentioned how is this younger generation going to change the course of politics or even the world? So the way I try to like what we're doing right now, I'm being the voice. I'm being the voice in hopes that this younger generation can be like, this guy's speaking the truth. This guy's speaking knowledge. We should listen to him and follow him. But how can we do that when the college system is brainwashing all these younger kids?
Really? Yeah.
Think about what you just said, though.
Philosophy.
Listening to this guy and following him. It sounds like a cult.
What do you mean a cult?
You just said, what you just described sounds like a cult.
Shane, give her the mic.
She's trying to say you just made a talking point. Right? That's what he said. Something she hears a lot from the right or
Trump.
whatever. Yeah. So you sound like the cult, right? That's what.
I wouldn't say it's
That's
a
what she's
cult.
trying to let you know.
Quite honestly, I'm pretty sure that the powers that be have every 50 years laid out well in advance
Yeah.
That, you know, the next 50 years is already laid out. So the
believe
question
that.
is really, how do you want to live your life? And what actions are you going to take in order to get that done? So you want to be married in a couple of years? What actions are you taking to get there? Are you introducing him to
She's
some
trying
nice
to get out of
women,
politics. She don't want to
men,
talk
or
politics.
whatever? How do you find good women in right now? Because behind every good man is a good woman. How are you finding good women in your life?
Yeah,
Oh, that's I'm on the spot now.
You got to answer that one, then we'll go with Shane. Oh, Shane, you want to?
How do you,
I don't know. It's hard these
How do
days.
you find a good girl?
Yeah, let's hear it, Shane.
Someone that is not too pretty. Because a pretty girl
Wow.
can't,
Not to wait. Not ugly.
not
ugly. Make it clear, because you know,
not ugly.
not too pretty means
Not
a
ugly.
good-looking girl,
We
but
don't
not,
want to get canceled.
not drastically.
Not like
Not a supermodel.
not a supermodel, because if you
Competition.
competition, man, you gotta go where you're at. So say you got a
Levels. there's
you
levels.
got a really cute girl and you're not that average looking, that girl's gonna leave you for someone else.
what
And
did Henry Kissinger say?
I'm not sure.
Do you
All right.
Open the borders and let everybody in.
Henry Kissinger?
Shane, give Carolyn the mic because I have a question for her.
Henry Kissinger said the best aphrodisiac is money.
Money. All right, so Carolyn, give Shane.
Right. Money.
Shane, give Carolyn the mic.
Money talks, yeah. Okay.
Right.
Give
But
Carolyn.
then she's not into you.
Harvey
Yeah, she's just into the
She's
money,
into
Carolyn.
the money.
Right,
She's
Yes.
not into you personally.
right.
Correct.
You're right.
Right.
Give
She
them.
doesn't love you, she loves your wallet.
So where do you go to
Just hand
find
her your
these?
wallet, she'll out of here.
Where do you go to find these?
So you don't think really pretty women can get with really ugly men
They would
for or
do it.
without money?
I don't know if they would do it.
Give Carolyn the mic.
What?
All right, we got a question for you now. Can you describe the dating game in your generation compared to ours? Let's hear it.
The dating game?
Yeah.
You're asking the wrong person.
Wait, didn't
You're asking the wrong person.
didn't you and Jim used to almost date?
I didn't date much when I was younger.
Dating is,
96-year-old.
It's when you feel comfortable with a person, you live by them, you know? You don't have to be with them, but you live by them, and then if things don't work out, you separate. But then, again, things can last a long time by being separated. You know, friends I know all my life.
Creating some space. Creating some
see
space.
them. Yeah, you just don't connect. I mean, you don't live 24/7. There's a difference. When you have to live 24/7, then you live separate. From
That's called marriage.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, marriage. If you
No,
want,
but he did say some
marriage is-
space. You know what I mean? Whenever. I mean,
Well, you always need space when you come home. You don't want to come home to a rattle trap. You know,
You can get
somebody,
space at home, yeah.
somebody who hammers you all the time mentally, not physically. And
So I want to answer Doug's
Yeah,
question.
you shook your head.
think,
So
think about it. Well, I'll tell you. One of the main differences I can tell you. My sister was 8 years older than I, so when her generation graduated from
college.
high school or college, she was college, but mostly in her generation and before them, they graduated. They met their matches in high school and they got married right after high school. So by
Yeah,
the
but
time they
things
were
were
20,
different
21,
back
they were
then.
married. Yeah, things are. In my generation, 8 years later. So she was born in the early 50s. I was the late 50s. By the time they got around to us, we weren't getting married till we were like 25, 28. Most of them married at 28. All of my sister's generation, they were divorced. All of my generation, for the most part, they all stayed married.
Generation X, they were all divorced, right? The generation.
Well, they were boomers. We're boomers.
You guys are
I'm not
boomers,
old.
and they had Generation X right after.
And they're all divorced?
Yeah, that's the divorce generation.
Well, 50%.
Really?
Since the 80s.
Well,
50%.
Yeah, you got to know what you're doing.
Generation,
So-
I think that's
So they got
57.
baby
One-
boomers, Generation X, and then Millennials,
That's
and then you
not
got
till like
Generation
1970.
Z.
And Z and millennials, they're not even getting married. No, but no, that's not true.
And that's
So
what people are afraid to get married because of Generation X, because of all the divorces they had, probably. I think.
two things,
Well, it
three.
all determined by maturity. What the level of your maturity?
Yeah.
I mean, when you're born, your maturity is like 5%, you know, and your sin is like 95.
I think
So
this time
hopefully, when you
changed
get
everything.
into your teens, you can at least balance it out 50% and 50% sin.
Oh, okay. So
There was a
Okay?
lot of like
And then when you
marriages
get
that
in your
were
20s,
arranged.
you hope it's 75, 25 sin. It's like that with coping. It's like that with resentment. It's like that with hate. It's like that. Yeah, you know, all these derogatory terms, the negative terms, is part of the bad zone or religious sin zone.
But we're talking about marriage.
Well,
Here.
marriage is everything to do with maturity.
Yeah.
Everything. 100% of it is maturity. Now, if you can
Yeah.
be at least 60%, 70% mature, you're good to go. But if you only reach 40 and you have a difficulty at 45%, you're going to be battling that for years. Get out. Get a cheap lawyer and have him, you know, resolve that.
So what
you
the
know.
problem today is men don't really like. The problem today is people don't like getting married, specifically men, because they feel it's a bad deal. They
Oh,
say.
yeah, well, so some people always look for the deal.
Yeah.
You know, like a lot of women have the judicial system on their side. You know, the law and all that is on
Not
their
true.
side, the courts, in a lot of ways with money. Because a lot of men come out having to pay alimony, child support. I mean, it may have been their fault,
Unless you live in Texas,
you know,
then everything
it could be
goes to
her
the man.
fault, but a lot of
So-
times the man gets jammed legally in some
Yeah.
of these states. But
And I've read up on it, and
the man should have been smart enough to know who he's marrying.
correct,
You know, that's why it's later in life. You got to mature.
correct.
You should get married by 30 plus. And have your ears wide open, listening to other people's sad
I
stories.
disagree. I think it depends
Okay,
on
disagree.
your maturity. If you're very
It's
mature
very
at 18,
important.
you can get married. And if you have a lot of family support, you can have children when
Sometimes-
you're young. It's healthier for the gene pool. But if you can't handle it, don't do it when you're young.
Like,
Wait until you are mature.
They got you find people that get married at back in World War II and they've been married 80 years. You know,
Yeah,
you
for-
find
for
people
some
that
it
married
works. For
50
some it
years.
works.
You find people that married 30 years. You find people that married 5 years. They find married people that married 1 year.
They got used to their habits. They get used to their idiosyncrasies. And we all have some wacky sense. I know I do.
Correct.
And if people can't cope with the wackiness, you know, get out. You know, it's like if it's hot in the kitchen, get out. You can't handle the kitchen. A lot of people can
And also-
handle the heat.
In all seriousness, some as I find out in my own family, some mental illnesses don't come out until you're over 25, 30. And that's a rough road to hoe with someone in your family.
Yeah.
So that's one good reason to wait until you're over 25 to get married. But you asked me a question about what the differences were in dating, and we were not so. We didn't know anything at 12 or maybe even 14 about sex or birth control or any,
Today's
any
generation
of this
do.
stuff. Today they know it at 5 years old. So
Thanks to Democrats. Thanks to Democrats.
Well,
Thanks
no.
to the Democrats, by the way. Thanks to the Democrats.
I'm not.
Am I correct?
You are correct.
Why blame? Why you're
No, because they're
Why
pushing.
blame? You're-
Because conservatives do
It's-
not want sex
Probably
education.
that
Talk
phone-
about sex to kindergarten kids.
Probably
That's
that
why. Those
phone,
are facts.
That phone does more educating on sex to the young than any
Yes, that is
teacher
correct.
Or a liberal or a Democrat.
Correct. And a conservative
Well done.
parent would not allow a 5-year-old with a cell phone.
Now the
But they do, don't
Just
they?
culture.
though?
It just go just
Okay.
like marriage. Just like marriage. The
I
reason
love
people
this.
don't marry. Look, the reason people don't get married nowadays, I believe, because before women were getting into marriage through arranged marriage, like parents made deals back in the days.
the
Yeah,
matchmaker.
matchmaker and stuff like that.
Right.
Now women have more opportunities and stuff like that. They don't get into. They're not quick to settle down. Now they're Mrs. Independent. Now they want to be like men.
Well, they're not
and
owned.
live
They
their man.
used to be owned, actually. They,
Yeah, so-
they were owned by men. They're not
They're
owned.
making
yeah.
as much money as men now.
So now the problem that women have, because women had a problem before. Now they have a lot more opportunities, right? But they still have a
Yes.
problem because this is the problem, right? Women, women have, like, for example, they'll tell you, oh, women have to like get dressed up or makeup. A guy just has to have money. That's what women will tell you. Oh, women or men don't have to do nothing but have money. But men will have to work really hard for that money. It's easier than putting on makeup. So you see the logic. So you could look at it a whole different ways.
Now remember.
Now,
If
now,
you want a wife that just puts on makeup.
Make money, they exploit people. Right?
yeah, there's a lot of ways to
That's-
exploit.
That's how they do it. So usually the guy that's exploiting people gets the prettiest girl. So, because he's got the most money that he's exploiting out of people. Correct?
Good point. That's a good
So you
Oh,
gotta
I'm
think
loving
that.
this. Again, if you're just joining us, this is the Doug Strava Show, which is brought to you by Stutz Betting. Bet like Michael Lepore. The Doug Strava Show. The Doug Strava Show airs twice a week. Stay tuned for further information. We'll be right back.
Especially going back to Columbus down.
Why? They were horrible this.
Malibu and the diner.
These leaders of these countries.
All right, we are back on the Doug Strava Show, which is brought to you by Stutz Betting. Bet like Michael Lepore. This has been an interesting episode. We talk about politics, dating, life. So let's get into a different conversation, and I'm going to start with Carolyn again. Oh, great. Pick up your mic so they can hear you.
Okay, yes.
So,
What's the topic now?
nothing controversial unless you want it to be controversial. All right. So I mentioned to you months ago when we finished season 5 that we could talk like family traditions. So how come today's generation does not keep traditions intact?
Oh, I have to disagree with you because I know lots of families that do, and you know, it's not a broad brush thing. You know, maybe in our own family.
Yeah, we
maybe?
keep it intact, but there's families that
no.
don't.
Yeah, there are. Well, you know, there's stresses.
Like
and
Luis,
strains.
Luis mentioned his whole family hates him,
I couldn't begin.
all because of him being
they
conservative.
don't. No, they don't hate him.
it's not
They hate his
Agree.
politics and his
The pot.
his disagreement with them that they should be working and not collecting welfare.
They believe I'm supposed to.
The government nipple. The government nipple.
I'm not really shocked because I thought it was Bill Clinton, President Clinton, that made it mandatory for welfare recipients who could work, that it was mandatory for a certain number of hours. At least when I was young, that's what was. So I'm very surprised to hear that they don't have to work if they can work. Not interesting.
Yeah,
I just want to say a lot of people do keep up family traditions, and it's time consuming, and it's hard work.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, a friend of mine makes tomato sauce with her family every summer in these big vats in the garage in the steaming heat, and it's like 25 bushels of tomatoes that they cook down and jar, and they do it with the whole family. The guys and the gals and the babies are there and for 2 days, and the in-laws on one day and the parents on another day, and cousins and friends. And it's a tradition. It's fun. Some people make wine. Some people make sausage. A lot of I'm mentioning food because you know I like to eat. but
Yeah. So
you are responsible for celebrations, and each one of us is responsible for celebrating and creating those, creating the traditions, maintaining the traditions. Each one of us.
So Luis has something to say that he was going to add on.
I think traditions it's part of being conservative, to conserve, right? To keep a way of life, right? To maintain tradition, don't you think a little bit? And I'm looking at the way because now preserve, saying conserve, preserve. That's what a conservative does. They preserve our way of life. And I'm gonna tell you why. Like when your tradition used to be, when I was going to school, we used to flag and stuff like that. Now they want to take that away from the classroom. They want to take God away from the classroom because everything is progressive. You need to progress, and it's okay to progress, but it's supposed to be organic as we evolve. When you push certain policies, because we get our policies, we believe it or not, from people. Our way of thinking, like even me, the way I think is from things that I learned, I study and stuff like that, and was brought up. But a lot of culture and a lot of things is coming from out from this country, and it's being pushed on our children for one purpose only, and it's to destroy this country within. You might not believe that. You not believe that. But it's country. You know why? Because politicians, look, they're both the same. Republican and Democrats are both the same in one aspect. They're all there to get rich. They're all there to get rich. Bernie Sanders, the best at that, right? Now, the difference between a Republican and a Democrat is that a Republican is willing to make deals with other Americans and companies, and somehow we get a little bit of the scrap we might benefit because it's a corrupted system regardless. But the Democrat goes and outsources everything. Other countries, because they'll claim, they'll be like, oh, we want to help the world, we want to give this. We'll give $100 million to, let's just make up a name,
Ukraine.
La La Land. No, forget Ukraine. La La Land for aid, not for weapons, for aid, right? We're gonna help this country, and we think like, wow, that's nice, because we're good people. We don't want to see other people struggle. And I feel that, and I'm okay with that, and I want that. But I know politics so much; it doesn't work that way. They claim that, and then they take that money and give it to the politicians in those countries, and then they give a cutback.
Right.
Write this policy for me. Give me this, and I give you that. They all do it, but the problem is that the GOP is doing it with Google. Well, they only does it with the elites,
Now.
and the Democrats are doing it with China, with Russia, and they hate Russia, right? But who gave Russia the biggest uranium deal? You know what uranium is, right? Hillary Clinton, as the Secretary of State, made that deal happen. Guess what? She went to Russia the next day, had a speech for 20 minutes, and got paid $30 million. Who gets paid $30 million for a speech?
They do.
They do. You know why? They do. It's called money laundering. This is how they get the money back from the favors they do to Russia and all this country. That's when you know politics.
I need a clarification. Was she buying the uranium or was she selling it?
For example, she's responsible from signing off whether Russia is allowed to, as a Secretary of State, because this is a security threat. She has that much power. So if she doesn't, yes, to sell. So what it was a Ukrainian it was a Canadian company that produces about 50% of all the uranium in the world. A Canadian company. That Canadian company wanted to sell off. There's entitled capitalism at its worst. It was going to sell off, and Hillary Clinton allowed Russia, because the United States wanted a bid. They was going to bid on that. She went with the highest bidder. Be like, okay, it's fine. We get 30, they get 40%. You know, if you fear that Russia might have nuclear power or is a danger to us, you don't cut deals like that with Russia. You understand? So everything in the news that you see from Fox and all that, everything is a lie. The truth is in the middle. Forget left, forget right, forget. The truth is always in the middle. You got to look at both.
I'm curious to know where, like, Utah was at, since that's their biggest.
No.
Utah?
Yeah, Utah. That's uranium is one of their biggest.
Yeah, but who owns it? Is it an American company? I don't know.
Good question.
I don't
Who
know.
owns the uranium mines in Utah?
But if it's American companies, I'm happy for it.
Now,
If it's another thing, it's a danger.
And this is
No matter, I don't have to worry about my feelings to
This is
understand that.
capitalism. Anybody can own anything
I love you,
here in our
Louise.
country, almost. So that's something that
Now-
we have to-
when the government says they sign a bill, we're sending aid to this country. So what you're saying is they get a cutback.
Well,
Yes.
They get
I'm gonna tell you the
we're gonna
craziest.
send-
I'm gonna
so,
answer that.
So
It's
while our
crazy, right?
people over here are living on welfare, we're gonna give money.
to Ukraine.
We're gonna cut some money to Ukraine because we can get a deal out of them. Correct? If
Well, what about this one?
they
The
win
coronavirus aid package, but $25 million to the Kennedy Center. Like that, they needed
Correct.
$25 million.
Also,
Yeah, the
all
fuck
your
is that?
stimulus checks you got the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So everyone started
That's a good one.
complaining about the gas
I was
price.
stimulated.
Yeah, you were
I
stimulated.
was. I was
So-
very impressed.
So people, so
That
they
was
gave
good.
I
you
take
about-
it if they give it.
So
I see it.
people got about $2,400 each, all Americans. What'd they do the next year? Okay, Trump didn't get reelected, okay? People were a little mad about that, correct? All right. Now the gas prices went up. Food went up.
Everything goes
Food
up.
went, everything
Everything.
went up because the government,
The energy determines everything.
correct, because the government gave everyone $2,400.
Government debt.
I think that's
Yeah.
why the inflation happened.
Yeah.
That
What do you
helps.
think
It
about
helps.
the Federal Reserve and what their policies have been since the banking crisis of 2008?
Microphone.
The more money they print, the less the dollar's worth.
Right, and so they've been printing lots of money, right, since 2008?
Correct. A lot more.
What about the Fed doing that?
For the first time in the history, it was never done before, and Barack Obama was the first president to ever sign off on such a bailout
James,
to bankers. And then you could look at it like he was supposed to, you know what I'm saying? But you always got it, and they got it back with interest, which I'm surprised of the thing, because they got that money back, by the way. But the money that they loaned, no, the money that they loaned, like the bailouts of the Wall Street when the collapse happened with the housing crisis, what's this, Fannie Mae and them, when all that.
And then James
Yeah,
reported on Snapchat, too.
they bailed out the bankers and all that with that. And the deal was that after everything, the economy and stocks went back up, they will pay with interest. It came back, thank God, with interest, which would they make a difference with the inflation, where everything is going on. It doesn't make a difference.
Now, we've lived through a couple of inflations already. Jim and I
Yeah,
have
we've
lived
been through the gas
couple-
prices.
couple of inflations.
Can you
over
recognize
time.
inflation? Do you know when inflation's here?
Yeah, this
Or
is it.
recession? This is it.
Isn't
Biden
that-
claims we're having the best economy and the best in ever, right?
Sleepy Joe, that is.
Now,
Yeah.
so
I just want to say what my uncle said, that you'll know when there's a recession, which is nobody wants,
Inflation, yeah.
when you see a lot of products everywhere, but no money to buy them.
Nobody.
Right. Well, we're getting poorer and poorer as everything continues to grow. And the people who are on low budget welfare, they should be feeling it the worst.
But
And
they're
you
not.
know that
But
they
they're
will
not.
vote Democrat because they're so brainwashed. and
They're
thinking
used to that.
Democrats will supply their addict, their dope, you know.
correct.
And
Bush was in power
now-
for 20 years. Why didn't things change then?
20 years, 8 years, 8
Well, it
years.
seemed like 20 years.
No, 8 years. 2000 and 2008.
Yeah, 8 years. He full
Um,
two full time.
Yeah, no, all of them. Republicans or Democrats. It doesn't. It's they buy off. They both sell out each other.
So it
It's a
doesn't matter
sellout.
whether the welfare person votes Democratic or not.
If they
It's
feel it's
the same.
needed, they go for it. It doesn't
the
matter
point
the
is that
party.
they use them people to stay in power.
Thank you.
Right.
So they give scraps, and I'm gonna tell you the worth it's everything's so backwards. For example, and it's out there for you to see it. If you don't see it, it's because we be like, oh, I don't want to see the truth. Like now, there's immigrants crossing the border coming to this country, right? That's fine. I'm not gonna make a comment on that. But Biden is not telling you, oh, this is wrong. We have to secure the border, right? You got GOP saying we got to secure the border. Democrats will tell you there's no problem. But if you got Cubans coming into Florida, Biden has the Navy and has the Coast Guard not even allowing them to hit land. You know why? Because they vote conservative.
Probably.
It's a hypocrisy.
Well, he doesn't want Florida to be strong.
Yeah, and not just
strong
that,
in
it's that they
conservatism.
vote conservative.
Right, because it's a
Because
strong
they're
state.
against the people that run from Cuba, they're running from socialism.
Yeah.
They
Oh,
believe in capitalism.
Communism.
Because there's people that stay in Cuba, they love it. They like it like that, you know. But I
Some
know people in
do.
Cuba. I know people in Cuba that, let's just say you got a few dollars. It don't matter how much money you have and how much money you send them. The government takes almost all of it, and then whatever they get to keep, you can't even buy more than $2 or $3 worth of tobacco for the week.
No.
Because you're capped. Your meat,
Yeah,
your
I don't know
products,
their
everything
trade
is
there.
capped. So now they be like, oh, it's fine that you're the guy pumping gas and the doctors make the same money. Sounds like, hey, it
Yeah,
sounds nice.
I heard about that.
But they all suffering.
The guy from
Yeah, they
the
are.
taxi
And for
driver
no
makes
need,
the same
there's
as
no
the doctor.
need. You know what I'm saying? Because Cuba,
Well,
In
yeah,
Cuba.
that's-
no, but I have a sister that's
that's what
married to a man in
communism
Cuba.
is the common wealth. It's
That's how
it's
the back and forth thing.
it's just everybody gets paid the same. And in America, we're in a way we're communist because almost just about 50% of the country works for the government. So when the teachers, police, firemen, and everybody who gets paid, right, and taxed by the government, that's their money. Their tax money is their pay. Now I'm in the private sector. My tax money is gone. There's a difference between a non-government worker and a government worker.
Now, they say a UPS driver can make the same amount as a doctor in America. Hear me out.
Well-
Now, hear me out. A UPS driver starts at
legal.
18 and works his way up, makes a certain amount of money a year,
Right.
and eventually a doctor, at 18, the doctor goes to school, gets into debt,
Yeah, $300,000, yeah.
300,000. As soon as by the time whatever his specialty is, that 18-year-old that's been working for UPS is money, and then
But what
you
what,
see what I'm saying? So the UPS driver's making money, a little bit money at a time.
Right.
Okay,
Correct.
and then the doctor, he's going in debt, and then he finally gets his doctor job. He's now able to make money, big money right now.
Exactly. He could do that in years.
In a couple years.
Right.
But the problem with the UPS driver is his back starts hurting, this starts hurting. The doctor's in the office. He doesn't have to go and lift over and bend the people up or something, bend the boxes over, okay? So they say that a UPS driver can make as much as a doctor. But over time, the doctor makes a little bit.
Officer makes more than that.
Correct, because the police officer goes to school. If you do,
100,000.
if you statistically, correct.
Well,
Unless it depends on your specialty.
Well, dentists, you have endodontists, periodontists, orthodontics. They all make tons of money. I'm dealing with teeth right now. These clowns, for a 20-minute job, $2,000. Now, what doctor do you know that makes that much money? Not many doctors do that. Unless they're surgeons, they go in for 5 or 10 grand.
Correct.
You know, they're going for 10. Now they can pay off their all their schooling and like years. Yes, I don't know. It depends how they. If they bring in 500 in 1 year, they pay. Their insurance is very cheap for dentists.
Correct.
I couldn't believe. I looked at it and I said, "What? $1,000? That can't be true. $1,000 malpractice for a dentist? I was looking it
But
up.
you gotta go
try to
to-
find malpractice on a dentist. It's
So
like
how do you feel about, having socialized medicine?
our socialized. Well, it's you got to have it for the poor, obviously. But you know, the thing is, we have too many poor that are not willing to pay taxes.
I'll be right back.
And that's very essential. It's essential to pay taxes.
Talking about the corporate poor?
The
No,
wage,
we're talking
the working poor.
Yeah, we're talking about people who are just collecting and
Who-
hanging out.
if you
I'm talking
notice-
about the hangers.
You have the biggest corporates advocating for pay more. You ever heard these guys, Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook? Oh, we deserve to pay more. The rich pay their fair share, right?
Oh yeah.
They tell you that. You know why they tell you that? And they vote Democrat because
They see gold when they say
they'll be
that.
like, vote. You know why? Because yes, they'll write it down. If you make more than $300,000, you're gonna pay your fair share.
Now,
But if you're a millionaire, if you're a billionaire, if you got corporate and you have more than 5 workers, you don't have to pay taxes. Because that's the loophole. And there's always a loophole for the
always,
rich.
yeah.
And when they blame Trump for, oh, he don't pay his taxes, none of them pay their taxes. None of them. And Trump was honest. They hate him because he was so honest. And he tells people, you know why? Because of the policies you made. People hate political correctness. I mean, they love political correctness. So when he was honest, this guy told you he did everything he said he was going to do. And anything he didn't get across that he promised his people, because probably you don't agree with his policy, but the people that was happy with the policies, he kept his word. And it's crazy because you know how you said you was right when you said that they're set up to have a president. They already had the future plan out. You was right when you said that, but not Donald Trump. That was the only curveball that they didn't expect. It was this man, a billionaire out of nowhere, to run, and they hated him for that.
Oh, I think they did know.
No. Do you think they knew, but they didn't want it? You know what I mean? That wasn't part of the agenda. They hated him for it because he threw a curveball, and for the first time in history, they didn't pick the president, like you say, because it doesn't matter if you vote. They already got their little cards in play. That was the only time in history that didn't happen when Trump won, and that's what they hated
liberal
for him.
tears everywhere.
Yeah. The thing is, we need an aptitude test for voting. We got to do, and even for the candidates, we need an
I'd
aptitude
like
test.
to give you an aptitude
Because,
test.
yeah, please do. Please do. Like 10 questions. If you get
Yeah, we
one
should. That
wrong,
should be
you
the next
can't vote.
episode.
That's all there's to it. And the thing is, you shouldn't vote unless you're a taxpayer. So if you're not paying any taxes, how do you get the right to vote? You don't put any money in the
I'm
in the
okay
voting system?
with everybody voting as long as they have an
Costs money
ID.
to have voting.
If you have an
They don't
ID,
even pay for voting.
you can vote.
Voter ID is
If-
racist, though, as they say.
well, what if they already determined the candidates correct before you even vote? It's just the voting thing.
thought for 40 years.
What if the thing is already rigged and they're just saying you have a
Right.
say?
That's why I never voted
Correct.
until-
Exactly.
They've
That's
already
what
got
it
the
is.
person picked, and now
Yeah.
And
It's
the first time you get it that is not picked or it's not rigged,
Sort of like a
you
lottery.
cried and you was mad for it. We
Correct.
hated Trump for it. For the first time you got to vote for somebody that
Wasn't
that
a
wasn't-
politician.
Right,
That
he's
wasn't
not
a politician.
He was all against the
oh
rule
no,
of law.
second time because people didn't know. One of the greats, Ronald Reagan, actor, he wasn't a politician either, and did a
Correct.
great job. By the way, he did a great job.
He was the beginning of the end of our
Yeah,
business.
that's why Bill Clinton.
beginning of
That's
the
why Bill
end
Clinton
of
came in
our
office.
nation.
Watch this. That's why
Most-
Bill Clinton came in office with one of the biggest surpluses in the history of this country. And when they claim that he has the biggest
No,
thing,
He didn't come into surplus. He went out with surplus.
no, he went. When did he go out? The surplus was already in 1992 when Reagan left office in 1989.
It was a Republican. I think it was a Republican
set up-
Congress.
He cut
during his 8
taxes
years.
for the billionaires. I understand that they hate it.
Trickle down.
Trickle down.
We're still waiting for the trickle.
But trickle up doesn't work either. So,
No.
for example, you can't have a poor person help out a rich.
If you really look at his
So it's trickle down. Because if you give taxes to a billionaire, to a company, that company could hire more workers, maybe a better pay. It don't always happen like that because of greed. But
there's a great
trickle
book.
up doesn't work either.
I read a great book called The Wolves of Wall Street, and it talks about how they take great small businesses that are very profitable, debt, load them with debt until they have to close or move to another country. I highly recommend it. Wolves of Wall
maybe
Street.
we should all
Not
read it.
Wolf of Wolves.
Yeah.
With the V,
Maybe-
correct?
I think it's wolves, but maybe it is wolves.
Maybe we should
It's
all.
a new book.
No. They had a movie about Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh, no.
Not that one. It's
Not that one.
Wolves. Okay.
Maybe what we should do is we
I'm
should.
sorry. I think it might be Lords of Wall Street. Lords of Wall Street.
I know they had the.
It's about that.
Is that myself?
I know they had the movie with who is it? The first
Yeah,
one in the '80s, and with
Michael
Charlie
Douglas?
Sheen
We got a
and
minute to
Michael
go,
Douglas.
so we're almost done. We're gonna finish up.
And then they had.
Lords of Wall Street.
Okay.
But what I think we should do is I think we should all maybe read that book and have a nice discussion about it on the next time we're all gathered here.
Oh man, I ain't got no time to read a book.
Carolyn can read it all for us.
They have audiobooks if you drive to work. You can listen to it.
Oh, I live 5 minutes away.
You just told me you read a lot, and that's why you know things. One chapter a day.
Yeah, so this has honestly been a great episode. I really appreciate everyone coming out tonight and doing this episode for my birthday, the birthday podcast. Carolyn, you said you weren't going to talk politics, but you did. I loved it. Thanks, Carolyn.
She enjoyed it. We all
she
do.
enjoyed it.
The good part is able to talk.
Shane, yeah,
That's the good part, right?
she-
Communicate.
Agree to disagree, right, Carolyn? Have a nice have a nice conversation.
Well, it's a very complicated subject.
Yeah.
But it's
You
fun.
guys
It's
are together.
interesting.
Okay, you guys are husband and wife.
She don't want to hear that. They dated.
No laws. No legal laws.
They,
But you're very up on your stuff.
Yeah, I'm smart with my stuff.
Where do
Yeah.
you get
All right.
your information?
so this has
Watch
been
a
the.
YouTube video here and there. Like I was watching the one with the UPS and the doctor, and it was like it's called Business Insider on YouTube.
Jimmy Dore show is good also.
All right.
Yeah.
You guys want to have that conversation off the mic? You can. I just got to do my closing. This has been the Doug Survival Show, which is brought to you by Stutz Betting. Bet like Michael
Stay
Lepore.
solid.
We'll see you guys next time.
Yeah. So.
I just hope it doesn't rain right now because we got $1,000 worth of equipment outside.
It's not LAX. That.
Especially going back to Columbus down.
Why? They were horrible this.
Malibu and the diner.
These leaders of these countries.
MVP quarterback. And then the other quarterback we have is Derek Carr.
Everything happens to me. Zach Wilson getting hurt happens to me. Not getting let into Bar A happens to me. Going to the hospital after the Jets beat the Titans happened to me.